Hey guys, I'm April from Giggle Glitter Graphics, and today I'm doing a quick, easy tutorial on how to turn envelopes into a cover for your junk journal. This method can be done with just about any envelope, but I do recommend that you have a matching pair. So I've got matching pairs here, quite a few different envelopes. So I've got, these are just little craft store envelopes, little brown ones that I picked up. These are from greeting cards. These are just security envelopes that I mail bills in and things like that. So I grabbed a couple of those. And then these last two, which is what I'm going to do for a future project, and the main envelopes I'm going to work with today, are a pair of book envelopes created from one of my digital kits. So I have a pair of those. They're not exactly matching, but they're complementary. But they are the exact same dimensions. So I'm going to start with these little ones and just show you. All you're going to do is grab your two envelopes and pop the flap of one envelope right into the pocket of the other envelope. I'm going to slide that down in there. Sometimes you have to give it a little bit of a wiggle to make it go in, and then make sure it's seated enough so that the other flap can close right like that. And I'm going to show you this does work with all of these envelopes. And because these are blank and identical, it does not really matter which way I put these particular envelopes together. I'm just going to tuck that flap right inside of here. Get it nestled down in and make sure that my flap folds over. So there's the second one. This would make kind of a traveler's notebook style journal. I like the idea of that. So again, it's got a different kind of flap on it, but this still works with the triangle point. And that's just going to tuck in there. And then this one is going to fold over. Now, because these are all blank, I haven't coffee dyed them, I haven't done anything to them. There's no thought process behind putting them together. I've put them together and now I have a cover which has a pocket on both inside spaces. You can glue to keep this flap in, like in the case of this triangular flap on this envelope. You want to glue that to kind of keep it from popping out. But once you bind your pages in, the holes will go through everything and kind of hold it all together. But if you just don't like how that is, if it's popping out pretty easily, I would glue this. I would glue that flap in. You can see it keeps wanting to jump out of there. So these, no particular thought process, makes a nice folded piece with a pocket on either side. Same with this one, right like that. But this one, I need to think about which of these I want to be the front cover and which I want to be the back cover. So whichever one you want to be the front cover is going to go on the left. Whichever one you want to be the back cover goes on the right. Flip them over. And this is where if you have a directional print, these are kind of, they go every which way. You're going to want something a little more ambiguous probably on the back side, just to make sure that the print doesn't end up upside down, or you want something blank on the back or something like that. So think about the directionality because they need to go flap to flap. So if you have something with a very directional print on it, it might not work. So I'm going to take the one that I want to use as my front cover, and I'm just going to insert that flap into the other one, like so, and then butt it up against the crease. Now you might ask, what about this? What about this flap here? This is actually where we're going to attach the string to wrap around this journal. So this is going to stay open. I did reverse print these whenever I printed them. So I have a nice print inside of there, and even some decorating or some writing could happen there. But that is the basis for the cover. Now, what if you need to glue these? I'm going to come back and revisit these envelopes here that did not just nest together and then stay that way. I'm going to open these up. I recommend using a glue like Beacon Fabri-Tac that has some slide to it. If you try to use something like a glue stick, it might want to stick and not slide around, and it can make it hard to get that flap down in there. So I'm just going to put, it doesn't take a ton of glue, just enough to secure them together. Again, you will be sewing through these, so it's not a big deal if there's not a ton of glue on here. You just want enough to keep them together. until you get your pages put in. So let me nest that back in there. And because that glue is a little slippery, I'm able to slide this until everything meets up just right. You can also nest them together and then just lift and get your glue under there as well. And you might be able to use a glue stick if you do this method, just to get everything lined up and then in place, and then make sure everything is closing properly. There we go. My pockets and my flap. So now we want to add some pages to these. I have some coffee dyed paper here. This is 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper that I coffee dyed using stencils. And it is just a little too big for these envelopes. I designed these envelopes so they could be inserted as almost a full page into a journal. They do come in other sizes, but this is the largest size. So I'm going to have to cut these pages down. There are 1, 2, 3, there's 3 pages here. I think I might grab a little more. Why don't I grab some other types of paper to go in here, because I'm definitely going to use this one for a future project. All right, so I grabbed some handmade paper. This one has some flowers in it. This one is just kind of in the antique style. And I am going to, these handmade papers are just a little big. They stick out a little longer than 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to grab a ruler, whoops, and just tear off some. I'm going to go a little shorter, since I know this is definitely going to be oversized. Oops. And then I'll add this little piece to my scrap pile. Might need to trim this up with my scissors a bit. And then, just because I'm a perfectionist, just rough that edge up a little bit so it doesn't look so clean. There we go. And then I'm going to repeat that for this other piece, just because they're a little bit big. Now I might have to trim these down top to bottom as well, which I hate to do because they have such a nice edge on them. Let's see how it all goes in. So tear that down into the scrap pile. And then before I do anything else with these, I'm going to trim these down. So I'm just going to grab my paper trimmer. All right, and I am just going to trim off, oh, I don't know. It's only sticking out a little bit. They're very similar in size. So how about that much? And then same thing here. Make sure I went through everything. So you can see how much that I trimmed off. I'm just guessing. There's no method to it. Let me get my envelopes put back together here. Maybe I'll tuck some glue in there just to keep them from moving around. Seems like the thing to do. Let's get these lined up. That way you can see the gluing process again. So everything's lined up. And I think the easiest way is to just kind of pull this up and run a bead of glue down that edge, just enough to tack it into place. And then again, using that liquid glue makes it so you can adjust better when you fold that over and make sure everything is fitting nicely. All right, let's try this again. Hopefully, yeah, that's a much better fit. We're inside of the cover now. So let's go ahead and add these other papers. Normally, I would go ahead and have folded these and cut them with the rest of it. I'll just fold these right in half. But I like the edges on these, and I almost don't mind if they stick out because they have that rustic look to them. But let's see how that looks. I'm gonna nest these in. So this gives me 5 total sheets of paper. Let's flip that the other way. Which is not a very big journal. You could make a larger journal, but I like to do a lot of heavy decorating. I've started art journaling a little more than junk journaling, but even when I do junk journal, I like really thick, heavy embellishments. So I've started doing less pages. Oh, that ended up working out pretty well. There we go. Less pages, more embellishing. I kind of like those rough edges sticking out. Just a touch there. I'm happy with that. So there are my pages for this one, and I've got my pockets here. So I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to do all of these today, but I'm not going to make you sit through the process of me grabbing everything. Let me grab a bunch of papers, and I'll come back and show you what I've decided to put into each one of these. All right, so I've picked out some pages, and I got a little overwhelmed picking pages for multiple journals. So I'm going to start with just this really tall one to do this kind of traveler's notebook feel. And I've picked out just a variety of things, and I'm going to start folding them because I know some of this might be too wide. So I'm going to fold them to about, individually, to about the size of this. And this one I feel like I can fold in half. It's probably okay. This is just a piece of paper that came in some packaging. It was really pretty. And this one also, most of these might be okay. This is some mulberry paper, really pretty. It's a little on the thinner side, but I thought it would be a nice addition. This is from a Chinese paper cutting book. So I like the flower on that. I've got a old vintage recipe book. And these all seem like they're going to work pretty well. Nothing is crazy wide. I'm definitely going to have to cut off the bottoms a little bit. Got a little ledger paper. I'm going to cut and fold this one a little asymmetrically, I think. Let's see. Let's do, because I like that torn edge, do something like that. That's fun. And then a couple of pages from a flower book. This one just has some writing on it. These are nice thick pages. It's kind of a 1970s book about annuals, I believe. And then let me just decide what order these are going to go in. I'm going to line these all up at the top for now, and then I'll decide where do I go from there. Kind of flip-flop between types. This guy's shorter. Maybe I just keep it interesting in the front. No. This is the fun part. About right here. All right, so everything but that one little piece is all lined up at the top. And then I'm going to use this as a guide, and I'm going to pull it down just a little so that it's, I want my pages to be slightly shorter than my cover. I'll grab a pencil, and I'm going to make a line. I'll probably cut a little shorter than this line. And then I'm not sure if I can get through all of this. I might have to take a few passes with the paper trimmer. So right about there. That was pretty good. And then just out of curiosity, where are my little envelopes? There they are. Cut off. Some of these can maybe be used in here. So I'm going to set that all to the side. And let's make sure our pages are now right side up. And these are going to go in here like that. Let's check that width. Maybe trim a little bit of that off as well. Let's go to there. Nice sharp blade today. Get rid of all these little bits, put those to the side. One more check. And that is fitting in nicely. I guess this is our front here. So now I've got my pages for my second book. All right, now I'm ready to bind these. I'm just going to use a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. If you're familiar with that, you can just skip this section. I'll have little marks, timestamps at the bottom of this video. So I've clipped these to keep everything in place. I've done that with both of these. And I've got some wax thread here. You can use embroidery floss, you can use string, you can use a different binding method if you want. You can just tie some cord through here or staple it or do any way that you like to bind these together. I've got a pokey tool and all to kind of poke through here and a needle for my thread. I'm just gonna stick that on there. There we go. And I'm gonna punch 3 holes. I'm gonna go for the middle and then top and bottom, well within the bounds of my journal. If I had shorter pages like I do in this one, I wanna try to catch those with maybe 2. So I will double check and make sure I've got that position properly. But first, I'm gonna go about the middle. You can measure. I'm not measuring today. I don't feel like measuring today. And you're just gonna punch straight through all of that, right at the crease. And then repeat that towards the bottom and towards the top. There's a lot of methods to measure and get these perfectly even, but I'm feeling a little chaotic today and I'm not interested. Now decide whether you want your tie on the inside or the outside. If you want it to be on the outside, then start on the outside. I'm staying attached to my bobbin today. You can pre-measure out your string about 4 widths, I believe, of your journal. I'm just gonna leave it attached. Go through that middle hole. Go through, it could be the top, it could be the bottom. Go to one side. Pull it through, go all the way to the other side, and then back through in the middle. You're going to want to pull your string to the side so that you can go through without punching through your string. If you punch through your string, you're going to have a bad time tying a knot. Now I've got way too much string here, so I'm just going to adjust that. You want enough that you can tie a bow. And if you want to do some dangly charms or something like that, take that into account and leave yourself lots of room to work and play with that. I'm going to cut this with my scissors, which is under all my scraps here to the side. Give this a little trim and tie a knot. Make sure everything is nice and tight. Right like that. And I can take my clips off. And now I have a quick bound journal. I'm going to repeat that for this second one. So I'm punching the holes for my second one. I've gone in the middle, and because I have an angled flap here, I don't want to get too close to this edge. I want to make sure I'm well within this edge. So again, keep in mind the contents and the cover of your journal when you're punching these holes, especially if you're not measuring. There we go. And just make sure that you're not catching edges that are going to tear really easily because you've gone too close to something. And now I'm going to repeat that process of the stitching on this one. And I am tying this, and I wasn't sure if I said it earlier, this little string needs to go right in between these 2 strings so that when you're tying your knot, it's going over that longer cord. And then do a little square knot, right over left, left over right. And then I can make a bow or add some embellishments whenever I'm ready. So there is my second little journal. I just want to page through here, see how this looks. This is going to be a lot of fun to work with. And I can add more pages by adding little flips and flops and things like that. So I'm happy with the page count on this. Looks nice. And then I've got my pockets I can add things into, and that's going to add a lot of thickness as well. So now I've got both of my journals, and they are ready for me to add the closure. I'm going to do a couple of different closures. I think let's start with the junky junk journal is what I'm going to call it right now. And I have some cardstock. Let's see, some circles I punched out from cutting these envelopes out. There was a backer paper on there, and so there was a lot of scrap. And so I cut some circles out. I'm going to find a couple that I like here with the writing on them. Let's see if I just want to do, probably just, let's do 2. I'm gonna reinforce this really well. I'm not sure if I can line these up back to back, but I'm sure going to try. So let's see here. I'm going to grab, let's do the Fabri-Tac. That way I can slide these around a little bit. It's getting a little unruly. I'm getting to the bottom of this bottle. Starts to get sassy. So I guess I could have distress ink to this, but I am in full on show you mode. So there, let's do that one there. And then I've got one for the back side. And let's try to line those up. Now there is adhesive on this envelope, and maybe I should have covered that up with something. I can always come back and put some ribbon or something like that on there and have it kind of peek through and cover up that adhesive so it doesn't eventually, like due to humidity or something, stick to this surface. So I could get, let's see, I have some trim here. This is not the kind of trim I would use on this journal, maybe more of a lace, but I could just cover that up. And that way there's a nice little surprise in there as well whenever I open it, maybe have it peek over just a little bit. So you can always go back. There are no mistakes in junk journals at all. You can always go back and fix that. So, all right, now I need to find, I've got my Crop-A-Dile and I'm going to set it to the 3/8 setting. I believe that is the size of my eyelets. And let's get a pencil and put a little mark where we think the center of this is. About yay. And I am just going to put this right in here and punch a hole. Let's see, right about in the center. And I'll move to my eyelid setting. That's pretty close. And I've got some different eyelets here. Let's go with a darker one. I'm not sure how I'm going to decorate this. This is kind of a blank slate here. So I didn't want to get too into decorating, and I wanted to stick mostly to the making the journal part. Squeeze, and now I've got my eyelet set. And I think for this one, I'm going to use some twine. I love my glitter and my sparkles, so this twine has a little bit of silver in it. And I'm going to get a generous amount because I'm going to want to go around this a couple times, and then I'm going to double it over. So, and then also once there's things in it, it's going to get a lot thicker. So one, let's do 3. Kind of double it, and then a little more for good measure, maybe. That way we can add little dangles to it or whatever. I'm not going to finish the ends of this because until I get my journal done, I don't know how long this needs to be. So I'm going to loop it in half, the loop through from the back. And then just gently pull until that's nestled in nice and not tight, but snug. Now I've got my little wraparound tie for my journal. And that's it for this one. This is ready for me to just go nuts and start decorating and doing collage and all kinds of things. I'll have to work obviously around this embellishment. It might have been better to do this after I've decorated the flap, but I'm not too worried about it. I wanted to show you the functionality part in this video and a little less on the decorating end. For this journal, I'm going to do a little something different. This kit came with some wax seals, and I'm not sure what theme I want to go with. Bird could be fun. I'm not sure. Let's keep it a little bit generic. Something, dragon. What this fancy, oh, rose is nice. Let's do the rose. Now I'm overthinking it. I don't know what theme this journal is going to be. It's red, and you know what? Let's do the rose. Maybe I'll do like a gothic theme or something like that with all the red and black, and I think the rose will fit in well with that. I am going to go ahead. I am going to distress ink the edges of these because I think that I will want that later and be a little easier to do it now. These came with a mirror image, so I have a front and back. And I've got some black ribbon. There we go. It's just a simple little eyelet ribbon. And I'm going to sandwich this ribbon in between the seals. So let's get, again, enough that I can kind of go around and around and around and that it looks nice. Let's be generous. Lots of wraps. I can always cut it shorter or do something with it later. Or I could double it up. Let's see. Do the same thing. I am just working as I go. I think if I cut it, let's double check the wraps on this. That will work. All right. So I'm going to cut this into 2 pieces. I want this to stay as flat as possible because I'm just going to sandwich it into this seal. So I've got my Fabri-Tac, since I am going to have fabric in there, and I'm going to place my first seal. I'm going to glue over the whole thing. And kind of center that up. And then I'm going to flip it over. Add some more glue here. Lots and lots of glue. I'm going to place the ends of my ribbon in the glue. Gotten kind of tangled up here with my dauber. Make sure those are nice and straight, and then let's grab my other rows. And then these are mirror imaged seals, so they do line up, so I'll have to kind of figure out how they're supposed to be rotated so that they line up with each other. This will be a good start. I did a pretty good job. There. And I'm going to let that dry for a minute before I touch it again. All right, there we go. Got my ribbons coming out of my wax seal. That's going to wrap around. I could add some little dangles or beads or whatever kind of embellishments I want to that. And there is my second journal. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'll be using both of these journals in future projects, and I will try to film them and share all of that with you in the future. The tutorial part of this video ends here. I have a little more information about my book envelopes kit coming right after this. So if you're interested in this kit and you'd like to see everything included with it and how to assemble the parts, then stick around. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. So for those of you who are interested in my book envelopes kit, I just wanted to give you the rundown of what is included inside of it. There are 3 sizes of envelopes. There are these cute little ones. These come 2 to a page. There is a medium size right there, and then there is a large size. It's so big that I needed to do the pieces on 2 different pages. I designed this larger size so it could be inserted directly into a full-size journal, 8.5 by 5.5, and it should fit fairly well if you want to insert it as part of your signatures. Each size has 8 different colors included, and kind of flip through those real quick, as well as book labels. And I've got 3 sizes of book labels here. There are going to be 8 that are a fantasy theme, 8 that are kind of an occult or maybe witchy theme, and then 8 that are blank so that you can put your own book titles on. I've also included wax seals to kind of add onto the flaps of your envelopes, and these are mirrored, so you get 2 of each wax seal, and they're flipped in different directions, and then you can put them back to back, and that way you have a double-sided wax seal, so when this goes over the flap, like this, and you open it, it is finished on both sides. I also include 2 different backer papers. They are very similar looking. One goes horizontal and one vertical. It really doesn't matter which one you use, but I printed the backs of my main envelope panels on the large envelope. I did not print the back of the pocket part, and I printed the backs of all the other envelopes. So you can see, I think I used, let me see if I flip through this one real quick. Did I use different ones on each one here? I felt like I split the difference somewhere. Maybe it's this other one. Let me see. So you can see the horizontal and the vertical. Here we go. So just two different directions with that. And I went with kind of a book page look on that. It's just a texture so that there was something to finish the inside of the envelopes with. So I'm just going to show you really quickly how to assemble these envelopes. I wanted to include this information for anybody who bought the kit, so I can link to this video right on the page in my Etsy shop where this kit is. You can find a link to this kit in the description down below. So let's start with the smallest envelope. And this guy is just all one piece, and it's going to be creased right here. These little tabs are going to fold in. And I'm going to grab a bone folder. Let me see where it got to. There it is. So we'll just crease those down. Make sure I get a little closer to that line. And then you're going to crease it in between the front book panel and the back, like so. And then again right here to make your front flap, right like that. Give that a firm crease, and same thing there. And then I'm just going to grab a bottle. I'm using Beacon Fabri-Tac. Any liquid glue will work. And my whole cap came off. Let's try that again. All right, grabbed another bottle. That lid is glued on somehow. All right, I'm going to open this back up, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on these brown tabs here. Not too much. I get a lot, I'll just kind of smear it around there. Same thing on the other side. There we go. Press that down. And that is it for the small envelope. So now you've got kind of this book spine looking pattern on the back and the cover of the book on the front. So that is the small envelope. Let's go with the medium envelope. It will assemble exactly the same way. It's just larger. You'll just fold in the tabs. Give those a crease, make sure they're even. And then again, fold on this line between the book cover and the back pocket. You can just kind of line up along the edge there, and that should give you a fairly straight pocket. And then between the front cover and the front flap. And look carefully, there is a little line there. You might get a little confused. These are all different. So you'll want to try and locate that line visually between the cover, where you might just look quickly and want to fold there. The fold is actually right here. Turn it so I can. Fingers are not very spry today. There we go. There, and then same thing, glue along these tabs, and that envelope is assembled right like that. These don't really have an upside down or right side up. I feel like they look pretty good either direction. And when you grab your titles, you can kind of decide what direction you want your envelope to go in. You could even go sideways if you really wanted to and place titles like right in the middle. But for this, I'm going to place them more in a traditional book position. So that is the medium envelope. Put those to the side. And now for the large envelopes. Large envelopes are 2 pieces. So the pocket is 1 piece, and you're just going to flap. You're just going to fold all these flaps in. You're going to flap all the folds in along those lines. You could use a scoreboard or something like that. I decided to do these by hand so that you can see if you don't have any equipment, anything fancy, you can just use your fingers and a bone folder or even the back of your scissors or something like that to firm this crease up. And then same thing as on the others, I'm going to glue the 3 tabs. And then flipping this over, I want to place it on the back of the cover panel. So right here. And just line that up at the bottom and sides. So it looks like this when you flip it over. And then I'm going to fold this cover piece. You could fold this before adding the pocket if you find that a little easier. I'm just going to fold it right along this line here between the cover and those little spine decorative pieces. Like that. And there is the envelope. For embellishments, I have included 3 sizes. So I've got these larger labels which work well on the large books, like so. There's quite a few to choose from. There are 8 different shapes. So I tried to include a lot of variety on these. And then you've got the fantasy theme, the blank ones, and the kind of witchy occult themes. Let me see if I can get some of those to play with so that you can fit all different themes of journals or whatever project that you're working on. So the large ones fit nicely on the large envelopes, the medium on the medium, and the small on the small. Those are large as well. Let's see. There we go. Here's the medium and these cute little small ones. And I have put different titles on all the different sizes. Nothing repeats, none of the cover patterns repeat. You will have repeating colors, but overall, you have a lot of variety in this kit as far as the covers and the labels and the seals go. I got to show you the seals really quickly. So again, there are kind of fantasy theme, general theme, and maybe some more occult feeling ones in here. Everything has a mirrored back to back, so that you can add those wax seals to your envelope flaps and glue them back to back right on there. And that way, when you open it up, it is finished on both sides. I am not going to glue these on because I'm going to use them for my own projects, and I don't know what direction, if I'm going to want my images to face up and down, do I want them sideways? So I'm going to refrain from gluing for now. But I just wanted to show you how this kit goes together. And I think it's a great kit. It's got a lot of utility. You can make an envelope cover like I showed you early in this video. You can sew them right into your signatures as little pages, that kind of thing. I did print these all on cardstock. This is 199 GSM cardstock. This is what I always use. It's always linked in the description down below. And I liked the sturdiness of it so that if I wanted to do some tab binding or use it as a page or something like that, it really has some heft to it and can hold up to quite a bit of manhandling, where paper might be a little more delicate and get creased and wrinkled more easily. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and the in-depth look into the book envelopes kit. If you like this video, please like and subscribe so that you can see future videos of projects that I am working on. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.